Okay, let's get started. So today is July 10th, 2020, and this is the Longhorn monthly meeting, community meeting, and office hour. And today in our agenda, let's take a look. Okay, first we're going to talk about, well, everybody know this, probably already know this news that SUSE is to acquire Rancher Labs, and we have agreement. And in fact, from our side, I mean, as a wearing the hat of the Rancher Labs employee, this in fact is pretty good news for us, because that is it's unlike what you see from, okay, so this is my personal opinion. I'm not the spokesman for the Rancher Labs, so it's purely personal. So, but it's not like what happens when like Red Hat acquired the CoreOS or like the IBM acquired the Red Hat. So in fact, SUSE currently, as you know, is still a private company, and their market valuation is like $2.5 billion. So in fact, it's really, they spend a sizable effort to acquire Rancher Labs, and also our CEO, Sheng Yang, of the Rancher Labs is going to report to the SUSE CEO directly. That means that in fact, for the they are expecting us, as in Rancher Labs, to lead the effort for SUSE for their Kubernetes effort. So it's from us perspective, it's a win-win situation, and we definitely don't think this is a good thing for us. Also, in the perspective of the Longhorn project, nothing will change. Everything on the roadmap and our commitment to our customers and our users will remain the same. So it's not going to impact our the project. And also, as you know, that Longhorn is also governed by CNCF, so it's still vendor neutral, and we are going to support every operation system as we can. Still, that's still the goal, and enable the persistent storage for all the Kubernetes clusters. So that's remained the same. All right. So anybody has any questions regarding this? Okay. So next topic I want to talk about is we have some. In fact, with the CNCF's help, as I mentioned last time, we migrate part of our Longhorn infrastructure to the CNCF. So now there are a few things we can show the public. The first thing is I want to show that in Longhorn, in fact, we're running nightly test for our all the features and bug fixes, and now you can see the nightly test result here. I think for the last test, we have like one failure for the normal test, and also we're running nightly test for the upgrade test as well. And this one, I remember, okay, have two failures. So the thing is, of course, we're targeting to address all these failures. And in fact, if you take a look at how long this test is run, it's basically we are run like 4-hour test, which is really covered all the aspects of Longhorn to ensure the stability of the product. So that's one thing I want to show to the public. Another thing is we have enabled this metrics. This is showing that, in fact, it's not. Sorry, this is the one we have in the internal one, and this is the one we have in the for the public. They're all coming from the same resources, same source, and you can see that now we have about 9,400 node running node wide. Of course, you are going to be curious how can we get this data? So you remember that for every Longhorn releases, you are going to, when we have a new release coming, you will see that there's a like pop-up in the UI to remind you that the new release is coming. That's also why we can have such high ratio of the latest release installed, I believe. So, and you can see that. And this is the what we have saw from the request to that upgrade server, and that is in our basis. Of course, you can opt it out easily by disable the upgrading server. Of course, that we are going to then you are going to lose the notification if any new release coming out. So as you can see now, currently we are at a pretty healthy growth rate right now. Is I think we are growth of like 20-something% per month, which is really fast. But we are also like making more efforts on the marketing and try to broaden our audience and to help with the acceleration of the growth as well. Another metric, in fact, you can take a look at that is star. Yeah, talking about growth, the star we got from GitHub, in fact, is also accelerating. So this is, you can see that once the 1.0 releases, and now we are hitting like 1,700 start in the GitHubs, and you can see that then this is, if you're wondering what happened here, is when we joined the CNCF, which is really great. So here is this is the momentum of the Longhorn so far, and it is going very well. Okay, any questions regarding this part? All right. So about upcoming 1.1 release, we have, in fact, for you want to follow the Longhorn's development, you can do it through checking the milestone. And in fact, the more like obvious way to do it is using the Zen Hub, because we are using the Zen Hub for our project management. And you can see that we still have a few issues left, but we are expecting to cut RC1 today. And really, there are a few highlights I want to talk about in the 1.1 release. This is a draft right now, but most of the feature here are already being implemented. The first one is we're going to add NFS on the Longhorn read-write manning support. And this is currently still experimental, and we are still, this is a solution for now, but it's not highly available, because if the node that the NFS provisioner is running is down, and then you are going to need to like restart your workload, or like your workload will be need to have a retry to the NFS server. But the process of the recovery, the pod should be still smooth. And in the next 1.1 release, 1.1 release, we're going to have a fully highly available read-write manning support. And in fact, we're still thinking if we should build like NFS on top of using NFS or using CIFS as the approach, because NFS indeed So NFS indeed have a issue on the Linux client side, which is really easy to harming like your client if the like server disconnected unexpectedly. So that and we have work around that issue and in our current implementation, as long as you still have your NFS provisioner like restarted by the Kubernetes. But still, it's not going to. We cannot guarantee like zero downtime right now, but that is the goal for our 1.1 release. The second highlight we will have is we have improved the LGAP environment support again. Well, I think we do that. I think the LGAP enhancement is, in fact, for the last 3 releases, we are basically just working towards that and to provide a better and better LGAP support. The first thing many our users noticed that is we had a LGAP name limited, which is like 64 characters, and that is not good enough. That's not big enough for many users with private registry running on site. And in this release, we have removed that limited, and now it's fine to use how many characters for your LGAP image name, as long as they're like acceptable by Kubernetes. And also, we have changed the image pool policy from always to if not present. So you can now pre-pool all the doc images and necessary to install Longhorn and use Longhorn for your LGAP installation. Like for example, there's a user mentioned that they want to run Minion use Minion as the private registry on Longhorn. So this is what they will need. The third is we, in fact, for the last release cycle in the 1.0 release, we have be the problem, not because of our infrastructure, but because of like a Quay.io. And we don't really directly depend on Quay.io, but the CSI, the Kubernetes CSI plugins are hosted in the Quay.io. So that's got us a little bit of trouble in because if you remember, I think in the late May, like by the end of May, their Quay.io has like outage, and that is in fact just during one of our release day. Like our release candidate day. So that is why we also want to give first, we want to move our images to the Docker. And also, you know that because it's in the Docker Hub, there are going to be image servers everywhere, there were some mirrors, and the use is pretty standard, and they can pull from the Docker Hub or similar repos very quickly. And also, we want to have you add more script to help the user to pull in the necessary Docker images from the Docker Hub. So then there's going to be, with combination of the change image pool policy, that's going to be easier for the user to install Longhorn in air-gap situation, air-gap environment. So the next thing is we added supported for the priority class for the Longhorn deployment. So the priority class is a relatively new features in Kubernetes that ensures that if anything happens, the Longhorn related components will not going to be like evicted or swept out. So that is one thing we added to guarantee the Longhorn to be like always resilient and available to the Kubernetes consumption. And there's a little bit different here. After the Kubernetes 1.16 release, there's going to be some default priority class you can set, but before that, there's no default priority class. So if you want to use this feature before the 1.16, you need to create your own priority class. So that's also documented in our upcoming document. So I think the fourth item we was aiming to do that, support rebuilding the restore, but in fact, because of time constraint, we have decided to move this to the next release. And finally, the Longhorn is in the 1.01 release. In fact, currently in the 1.0 release, is going to be available directly through the Helm repo. And the Helm repo is, what do I mean is, is this new project we have started. So basically, before this project, Longhorn, you need to using git clone and then using Helm install to install the Longhorn, right? But after this, you should be able to just go with the Helm repo add and Helm repo update, and of course, Helm install Longhorn, right? So that is, in fact, the standard way of installing Longhorn from now on. And this is also recommended by Helm. So we are also going to adding the charts.longhorn.io to the Helm Hub as well to help you to indexing where the Longhorn is. And also, as wearing the Rancher Labs hat, we are going to add this to the Rancher repo as well. But the officially hosting will still going to be in the HTTPS and the charts.longhorn.io. So the 1.01 release is we are planning to cut the RC1 today, and the formal release should be available within like a couple of weeks. Ideally, should be the next week, but if anything happens, probably we are going to delay like a couple of days after that, but they are definitely going to be available before the end of month. Okay, so that is for the 1.01. Oh yes, so that's all the topic I want to cover in this community meeting. So, and now is like office hour and the Q&A. All right, anybody has any questions? All right. Okay, so one thing I probably want this kind of so for this matrix, in fact, you might saw this, and this is there's one map we haven't integrated with our public yet, And in fact, you can see from this world map, how we did this is because I know there's GDPR laws and stuff. So how we did this is we queried IP, and then we put IP, and when we basically say that where the country is, but then we could discard the IP. So we are not going to make sure that we are not going to be in violation of law. But the things that you can see something like interesting here, of course, the first one is US has the most users. And then in fact, you can see that German has a very large amount of users here. I don't know why, but it seems Longhorn is pretty popular with German, and of course the third one is China. And in fact, this gives you a idea about how well spread is the Longhorn user is. I say we're going to add this information pretty soon to our new to our Longhorn metrics. All right, any other questions? Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was showing this one. So you see that there's a world map here and showing how many users we have in each region. And because when the server received the request, we know roughly where the IP is. So we figure out what's the geographic location for the IP. But then we discard the IP, we just store what's the country and what country is in. And then we have this heat map here, and to show that what's the distribution of our user. It's not really using for anything except for just show you how well spread the Longhorn user is. You can see that I think this is New Zealand, Russia, Japan, Canada, that's Argentina, Kazakhstan, yeah. So that's just something interesting, and we are going to add this because it's a separate plugin. We're going to add this in the public-facing metrics as well. And as you notice that this is the a private one we had in inside Rancher Labs. All right. So any questions? Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. And if you have more questions, let me know and hit me at Slack or just feel free to raise issues. I have to say that in fact, Longhorn's developers as us, as Rancher Labs, we really values the customers' feedback and the users' feedback. And many features is provided, and the enhancement proposal is coming from the users, and we do really appreciate that. And without the user support, we cannot get to today's to get this step. So in fact, we also have the we were also planning to get Longhorn into next stage of CNCF incubation this year. So that's we're going to be later this year. And we also need your support for that. So if you have any questions regarding anything on the Longhorn, please let me know. All right. Okay, that concludes our today's meeting. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.